A climate quandary from Wall Street to Milan. President Obama gallivanting from speech to speech, preaching globalism, of course, at a price. The former president is raking in a reported $3 million for his foundation as he flies in and out on private jets and drives around in multi-car convoys, enlarging his carbon footprint and, of course, contradicting all of that rhetoric about climate change. Here to discuss, Fox News contributor Deneen Borelli and Boston Herald columnist and radio host Adriana Cohen. Good to see you both, ladies. So, Deneen, I don't know which gets me. I kind of don't mind the money that he's raking in because it's a free market and all presidents do it, going back at least. Harry Truman didn't, but he was the last one who didn't. But it's this hypocrisy on the whole global warming stuff, creating this huge carbon footprint while preaching about global change, global climate change.
Yeah, $3 million for former President Obama to say he was for something before he was against it. He is a liberal hypocrite, liberal limousine hypocrite. The private jet, helicopter, a fleet, a caravan of cars. He's no different than Al Gore. He claims to be for the environment. What about Skype? Skype works perfectly well.
That's true. It does. Adriana, what do you think about all this?
I agree with Deneen. Clearly, President Obama is being very hypocritical. You know, one of the things climate change proponents want us to do less of is reduce our carbon footprint by using less fossil fuels. But when you fly in these private jets, you're blowing out the ozone. And then he was escorted by this gas-guzzling SUV. So clearly, he's not walking the walk. Liberals are good at talking the talk, but not practicing what they preach. And it's problematic.
Well, Deneen, does it catch up in any way? I mean, rhetorically, I mean, we're talking about it here, but you know the mainstream media is never going to talk about this, right?
Oh, yeah. The mainstream media is not going to focus on the fact that there are thousands of Americans who are being harmed by high energy prices as a result of former President Obama's failed energy policy, the number of coal miners that are out of work. There's a lot of harm that is going on economically and in hardworking family households because of former President Obama's policies. And, you know, President Trump ran on rolling back these initiatives, these regulations. Folks are looking forward to him doing so to get our economy going and to get people working again.
Adriana, President Trump already has reversed a lot of the regulations and held back the coal industry and other industries in the energy sector, of course, the pipeline, et cetera. But there is the Paris Climate Accord, and he does have pushback from within his own family. Ivanka is very much a believer in doing what you can to stop man-made climate change, if there is such a thing. So who do you think wins on this issue?
You're right. He has different forces within his inner circle pulling him a different direction. EPA head Scott Pruitt and Steve Bannon want the United States to pull out from the accord because it's unfair. If you look at the terms of the Paris Agreement, it places the biggest burden on the United States and other developed nations while giving a huge pass to China and India. They don't have to reduce their emissions, and they're one of the biggest global polluters in the world. So there's a huge inequity there. And so I understand where they're coming from. But with respect to Ivanka's position, of course, we should all be doing what we can to reduce our carbon footprint, but we need to do it fairly and equitably amongst all nations. I don't know why we're empowering China economically and India while hurting the United States in terms of jobs and hurting our own economic growth.
10 seconds.
There's a huge imbalance here.
Who wins the internal debate with regard to the Paris Accord?
Well, I hope Americans will win this debate because that was one of President Trump's campaign promises, and folks are looking for him to keep his word.
And so you do think that he will hold back on Ivanka's proclivities towards the Paris Accord?
I sure hope so, because it puts our country at a competitive disadvantage. So we'll have to see what happens.
Deneen, Adriana, we got to leave it at that. Thank you, ladies. Thank you for joining us, everybody. Lou